Hey there, and welcome to Microsoft Flight Simulator. Today, we take flights in the Beechcraft King Air 350, and we take on a flight from Jomo Kenyatta in Nairobi to Entebbe in Kampala. So, one region I've had a lot of requests for is to fly in and around the African continent, and therefore I thought I'd find two airports that are relatively popular both on a regional and international scale, and fly between them both. So, Jomo Kenyatta in Nairobi and Entebbe in Kampala both fit the bill just perfect in terms of having sizable airports, plenty of traffic in and out of them, and also only being about an hour away from one another as well, and therefore our departure date takes us on at runway 06 here. We make a westerly heading towards Lake Victoria, which is also where the start of the River Nile is, before going on a northwesterly heading towards Entebbe and then bring the aircraft in to land on runway 35 over there. Now, one preconception I believe a lot of people have at the moment is, in terms of the actual scenery quality here in Africa, I mean, there haven't been too many videos on it at all, and therefore, what, is the scenery just here really bad? Is there no sat images or anything? And so, one of the aims of this video is kind of try and squash some of these preconceptions and show that no matter where in the world you are, the scenery is fantastic regardless. And so, I think you guys have now had enough of me waffling on at the beginning. Let's jump into the aircraft and actually, well, show you guys what there is to offer. First things first, let's turn on the battery, both generators, and the avionics. Now, the King Air in Microsoft Flight Simulator features the full ProLine Fusion setup. You've got 3 touchscreen panels, you've got your main PFD, which gives you your aircraft information as well as synthetic vision, and you've also got the center panel, which includes your map and GPS, as well as the engine information as well. So I'll make use of both of those today. But before we do that, let's have a look at the airport in Jomo, shall we? So here we are. We have 2 ground marshals at the moment, as well as a ground power unit apparently. Don't think we're going to quite need him today, that's for sure. To our left, we've got a few more parking slots, and then behind us, you have the main terminal here at Jomo. So it's quite a nice design, I must say. I mean, you've got the main entry point over there, you've got the halo-shaped terminal with all the aircraft that park around it, and also currently you've got 2 aircraft as well at gates, both the main 320s, and probably soon be on their flights out soon as well. In terms of operations out of Jomo, so this is the main airport here in Nairobi, and it does serve as a base for quite a few airlines, including British Airways as well. Jomo does have quite a few BA flights that come in and out of it, and form one of the main hubs here in the African continents. So yeah, I get a chance to enjoy that as well. Another prop craft just to our right, but flight today, we're in the King Air, and therefore let's now go through the aircraft setup. We are going to do it through full conduct, so I'll be plugging in the flight plan as well into the ProLine Fusion panel. And yeah, let's get started with that, shall we? So, first things first, we'll create an active flight plan, and we'll set an origin at Hotel Kilo Juliet Kilo, HKJK, and scroll down to the destination at Hotel Uniform Echo November, HUEN. Add a waypoint en route, starting off with Nakats. It's going to be that one. Then add a second waypoint, which is at Melamo. And then third and least, Oxum. So plug that in. And if we now look at the map, we can get an idea of what our flight plan will be. So, heads to the west, then fly over Lake Victoria, before coming into land at the airport, which is just off the coast of that there. So, certainly some rather stunning visuals we get to see en route. Now, we also have a departure and arrival plan set. So, go back to the... Actually, no, we don't. We need to accept the flight plan first. Head to the flight plan menu. Go to Procedures and set our departure, which will be the Nakats 3 Yankee. There we go, runway 06, load it in, and then set our arrival, which is the Oxum 1 Charlie. runway 35, load it in. It does add a few waypoints to our departure, which I do need to remove. As for initial setup, you can see the aircraft now starts heading to the north for doing a random 180 turn, and then heading south again. So 2 waypoints cause that. Go back to the flight plan menu. That is going to be CAMAS, remove waypoints, and also NAC, remove waypoints. And therefore our departure now instead takes us over to the waypoints over here. Charlie Delta 24, followed by EPNIB, but at that point the aircraft has turned, and therefore now heads to its first waypoint at NACAT. It's a very nice system, this, the Proline Fusion. Compared to a lot of the avionics packages in Microsoft Flight Simulator, especially in the beta, it's one of the best. It gives you full functionality, and it does allow you to do what you need to do. So, let's close the flight plan menu now, and let's prepare now the aircraft for startup. We'll also set the altitude as well, so cruising at 12,000, which is just below the base cloud layer here. And then set the vertical speed, which would be initial climb at 1,500 feet per minute. Yes, that way. Perfect. So, flight plan setup, autopilot setup. We'll turn on the flight director and yaw dampener. Let's head down to the lights panel and turn on the navigation, as well as the beacon and strobes, as we are ready for engine startup. Let's set the prop control to about 30%, and therefore there'll be some RPM running when the engines do start. Perfect. And yeah, that should be us ready to go. So there's no pushback vehicle thing here. Yeah, okay, so if I press Shift P, that should regardless allow the aircraft to push back out into position. So we'll do that today. And then after we've pushed out, we'll then start the engines, which again, not a massive process in this aircraft. You need to turn on the auto igniters and then hold the start switch until N1 hits around 20%. In fact, I don't think we need to push out the entire way. That should do us far enough. So if we stop the pushback now, set the parking brake again.
Oral warning, okay.
And yeah, start up the engines now. So both auto igniters come on. The engine start switch is down here, and then we need to watch the N1s, which are over here in the middle. So, whoops, let's well, let's flick the switch, hold it down, and then watch the N1 grow. So, as I say, wait, that hits 20. Shouldn't take too long. Let go of that. Okay, now watch the engine start up. We should also have done a fuel check as well, but I did that in the menu just before the flight started, and so I do know that we've got around 50% of the tank full at the moment, give or take a few. Right, and right-hand engine is now starting up. Let's do the same for the left-hand engine, so push the start switch down, watch the N1 until it hits 20. I can see on the cast there, it's telling me to turn on the anti-icing, the pitot heat, so we'll do that as well. Microsoft Flight Simulator does have full shader-based icing, and if you watch my very first flight in the A320, then you do know when aircraft start icing up, they ice up. So we'll turn those on. We'll also turn on the engine anti-icing. We'll allow both engines to start up and stabilize. And once they do, we'll then switch off the auto igniters. Perfect. Let's also clear the master caution. Now, next thing for me to do is set the taxi lights up. Taxiing to runway is not too difficult here at Jomo. All we have to do is head down south, enter the taxiway here before taxiing up north again, and it should be right in front of us. So maybe 1-2 minutes of ground action. Load the flaps into first position, parking brakes off, increase the throttle slightly, and immediate left hand turn. Perfect. And so currently we are flying with active weather. Local time is around 2 o'clock in sim. And our flight time, we expect it to be around 1 hour and 15 minutes, give or take a few. There may be a little bit of turbulence as we head towards Lake Victoria, but for the most part, conditions are looking relatively clear for us. There's a few clouds at 12,000, but not too many. Coverage is relatively light at the moment. And we won't turn the prop up to 100 just yet, since, well, the King Air doesn't require too much power to taxi. Even right now, I feel like we're going a little bit too fast, by the fact we are on idle throttle. And, well, we'll definitely use the extra power to kick it when we're on the runway. But right now in particular, we should be alright. Quick check the left and right. Make sure no one's going to cross us in the taxiway. Chances no. All clear for us at the moment. Really check my speed there. This aircraft really does run away from me if you're not monitoring it properly. Right. There is our runway. Let's us hold position here. There's no hold short marks I have noticed. However, I'm not sure if that's because we've actually passed them. And they're somewhere all the way over there. But hey. Stop short of the runway. One more quick check, make sure that nobody's on approach. Make sure that nobody is landing or on the runway, which they are not. Wind sock shows that it's currently calm winds. And therefore, then lights on. Test lights off. Prop control to 100%. And we are ready to go. Also zoom out on the map there slightly, just give it a bit more range. Throttle up. So with the full prop control now, the angle of the blades are now a bit more towards the wind, therefore much finer on the acceleration parts. And therefore, as soon as we start our takeoff run, we get the maximum performance out of this aeroplane. Engines up 50%. Both engines stable. Let's get going. So push the yoke down a tiny bit, just to avoid any premature lifts and rotates. Airspeed's out of the reds. 100 knots. Let's rotate. Positive climb, gear up. Flaps up. Just trim for climb. Bring back the throttle slightly. Don't put too much power into that, cause over RPMing and just break them essentially. And yeah, there we have it. Welcome to Nairobi. Well, to be exact, Nairobi is going to be that area over there. This road forms essentially the boundary between the city and where we are right now, which is the regional authority of Kampala. And so, yeah, we are outside of the main city. I'm flying over one of the smaller towns outside of it, but even here you can see the satellite images where you can see where the roads are, you can see where the houses are as well. All buildings are 3D and do pop up off the ground, and overall, yeah, regardless of where in the world you are, you do get to enjoy the full effect of Microsoft Flight Simulator scenery. Anyhow, we are probably about to start heading for our first couple of waypoints, and therefore now would be a good time to start up the autopilot. So we'll hold the yoke back, or the lateral sorts itself out, the vertical speed. We're set to out mode, so that will be active. Hold it at 1500, which it does. And now let's turn on the navigation mode. So what that will do is follow the flight plan that we plugged into the... I was going to say the FMS, it's just the ProLine Fusion panel in front of us. And there we go, that will hold it. There's quite an interesting bit of water there. What's going on outside? Ah, it's some sort of reservoir, water filtration centre. So presumably water will collect here and then pump out in towards the city. Again, that's a nice bit of detail that. It does show, again, regardless of where in the world you are, you do get to enjoy the full extent of Microsoft Flight Simulator scenery. It really is a next generation platform. So, presumably we head towards the waypoint just here. Head towards Foxtrot Delta 24 before making a left-hand turn. And then the rest of the flight plan should start to turn pink. So I'll monitor that. We have passed through 10,000, so landing lights will now come off. We should soon be right up against the cloud layer as well. So preferably not flying inside of them. Certainly flying around them, that's for sure. Okay. In that case, cancel that 2 seconds, go to the map. Oh no, there we go, it has done it. So, flying to the Epnid point, a bit further out. Now it turns left, goes on the flight plan. So, don't worry, I'm just being a bit preemptive there. That, in my case, the autopilot does work, and it does know what it's doing. So, the path line there is just the example showing you where the aircraft may be flying. In reality, it will go waypoints to waypoints and fly each node separately, so that does make sense. In fact, let's also increase our climb to 1,500. As this how we are flying right now through the clouds, and so again, just trying to avoid some icing issues. I'd much rather be above them rather than through them. The airport is relatively high altitude at 5,000 feet, and therefore, relative to ground, we're only flying at about 6,000 at the moment. Certainly lower than most will be flying at this point. It won't be a high cruise, since we do want to be able to look down and enjoy the scenery down below. But first things first, let's break through this cloud. And while we do that, let's go and sit back in the cabin and enjoy a bit of luxury, shall we? Again, it's a very, very nicely detailed aircraft, this. Oh yes, also forget, we also have some external camera viewpoints as well. I've set with the preset camera modes, and the control-wise, I've aligned that to the numpad. So just like an X-Plane, you can use the numpads to go to different camera viewpoints. I'm now doing the same here in Microsoft Flight Simulator. The aircraft has level for 12, so we'll just push up to 15. Right, there we go. So the ground scenery now starts to appear again, especially when we go through the breaks in the clouds. And overall, a very good flight this. In terms of live weather as well, since the weather is based on local METAR information, it should update at the same rate and therefore give you the same amount of weather fidelity as the rest of the world. There is also a backup plan, for example, so if you were to fly in all offline mode, so if you turn off all the Bing Maps data, and if you were to turn off the or fly in regions of the world where there is very limited to no satellite imagery whatsoever, then it also has the backup mode, which is land class. So if you remember FSX and P3D, and even Flight Sim World, sometimes the scenery would be a bit checkerboardy, it'd be very repeated in regards to where you were, because it wasn't satellite imagery, but a predefined scenery that the simulator would generate. So while the main scenery is Bing Maps in Microsoft Flight Simulator, it does use land class, but only as the backup option, so very limited data to no data, or flying with no internet connection. And so the range of the images are also a lot higher, and therefore will be less of a checkerboard effect, a lot less repeating, and the simulator will calculate the scenery around wherever you are, so it will see what scenery you do have, and then generate tiles based on that, and therefore, in terms of mismatching colours and mismatching roads and that and all that as well, virtually mitigated completely, to the point that you just don't see it in the simulator. It's so well designed, so well put together that, again, Asobo deserve a lot of praise with what they've done. There was an article that came out soon after I did my flights in Finland. One of the Finnish news sites actually picked it up and created an article which basically read, the simulated scenery is so realistic in this, the world environment is so realistic in this simulator that complaints are down to the smallest of details, such as one building missing or one road that has the wrong direction, which well, I thought was just beautiful, because it perfectly sums up what the simulator is. You get the whole world, it's all there. I mean, right now we're flying over forest, but satellite image is there, so you can see where all the towns are, all the houses are. If I zoom in, it's nicely detailed, so you've got a nice bit of quality there for the images. And if you were flying low enough to the ground as well, they will be 3D, they will pop up, they will fit the worlds as they should do. It's a very beautiful sim, you get in there. Bit of a darker patch because the cloud shadow is affecting the ground. And I mean, really, what else is there to say? It is just spot on. In fact, the clouds and the lighting engine is another thing entirely that we should also cover, because one thing that the simulator does is, well, you have the light coming in from one source. You have a spotlight, which in this case is the sun, which shines out on your whole world. Now, different layers of clouds will act differently depending on what they are, and the lights will hit that, and first of all they'll refract, they'll bend away from the straight on path that the light was heading, and also, the thicker the clouds, the more light that is blocked, and therefore the clouds get progressively darker the further down you go. Also, multiple layer cloud layers, so the top clouds, the upper clouds will be white because the light is hitting it, lower clouds will be grey, dark and gloomy, because again, more light is blocked the thicker the clouds, and therefore the less light will also hit the ground as well. My flights from Westray to Papa Westray is a good example of that, flying in Scotland, because yes, it was sunset evening, but it was also a complete cloud cover as well, and as a result, a few guys commented that the video was grey, dark and gloomy and didn't look very good. In reality, that is spot on for what Scotland was on that day. Dark, grey and gloomy. To be fair, if you go to Scotland ever, 364 of the 365 days are just like that. You may get one day of sun a year, and that'd be for about 30 minutes until it starts raining on you anyway. But, yeah, the simulator world is just phenomenal. The amount of work that's gone into it, I can't comprehend, because again, it is just so detailed, it's amazing. You have the satellite image as a base, you then have the what are they called? The Black Shark guys. You have Black Shark AI who use Azure to kind of generate the 3D buildings and populate the world with that. Then you have the weather, which also combines the lighting, the clouds, and just puts it all together into the world. And then you just stick a flight simulator on top of it. I'm sure if Microsoft were to ever release competitors to Google Earth, I mean, you've got big maps, of course, but if you have to go into like the full desktop Earth simulation platform, then well, they've also got technology for that right here. Perhaps one day we will see Bing Earth or Microsoft Earth. Right, and have a left-hand turn coming up shortly. Let's start heading towards our next waypoints. So like I say, it's not quite on the line, but instead the aircraft will follow the flight plan waypoints to waypoints. Is it following the route of the SID, is it? So it's still going to fly up north. I think it may do. Let's, yeah, okay, I see what's happening there. So if we go to Nakat and fly direct to... Okay, maybe not. Well, plan B. Let's just fly heading to heading, shall we? So, heading selector on, and that's heading around 275. We'll make finer adjustments if need be. It's very strange that. I mean, the flight plan was plugged in and it all looks, well, normal. Obviously, something has not quite gone to spec there, but we'll live. I don't mind a bit of manual flying. We do it all the time in the Microsoft Flight Sim. Again, it's quite strange because when I did the flights in Greece, so when I flew from Athens to Limnos, we did the autopilot set up in the same way, but that time, quite the charm. And you have the cloud cover has now cleared up, and so a chance for us to again look at the ground scenery below and enjoy the world it has to offer. So if I zoom in, okay, the sat images may not be as crisp as the rest of the world, since we are now flying over rural Africa. But even then, the buildings do get located and they do pop out from the ground. The trees also appear, and also altitude will play a factor to it as well. If I were to fly a bit low to the ground, I'm sure that the sat images as well will start to appear a bit crisper as well. I don't think the aim of this sim is for you to be at 30,000 feet and then zoom out to the ground to spot it exactly where you are, because the amount of download data you'd need would be phenomenal. Yes, you are downloading the Bing Maps data, but you're also streaming it right around the horizon. So if you look at the horizon, it goes on for miles around you. You're loading data for that as well, and therefore the bigger your internet speeds, the better. I believe at the moment I am limiting it to around 40 megabytes per second, therefore if I ever need to start live stream or anything, I can use that as the back end. But again, if you turn that up a little bit and give it more bandwidth to play with, then absolutely you'll get a bit more of the scenery in as well. In fact, let me check my settings 2 seconds. What is my bandwidth currently at? Data. Oh no. Oh yeah, bandwidth 40 megabytes per second. So if I were to turn that to unlimited, my Xbox controller's playing up there, on the button there. Yeah, so now that it's unlimited, we'll give it a few minutes to kind of just download the extra data. And as soon as it has that information, once again, it should start looking phenomenal. At some point, I will do like an actual test live stream, so it'll be completely private, because at the moment the ND doesn't allow us to live stream. So this is a pre-recorded premiere. A few people seem to get confused with that. This isn't live, it's pre-recorded. And so what you're seeing right now I recorded last night. Yeah, so I'll do like a private live stream test it all working. In fact, already you can see how much crisper the images are down below. Perhaps I will leave it on unlimited, and if the live stream tests all work, then I can keep it that way as well, because 40 megabytes per second, it doesn't look terrible, but well, if you unlock it all, and just look at that. And the next gen flight simulator experience. There's an airport down there as well. Let's have a look at which airport this is. Presuming it's even chartered. Yes, it is. That's going to be Kilo Oscar Mike. Not that. Somewhere is where you can actually put the waypoints in. It tells you where you are as well. So here we go. Kilo Oscar Mike, wasn't it? Barton's Navigational Airport. There you go. This just again shows you the level of detail that systems do have. And while not perfect yet, well, I'm sure by the time the sim does release in 1 week's time, so it's out next Tuesday, Microsoft Flight Simulator. I'm sure once that does all arrive, things will be looking mighty sweet. I will turn the nav mode back on. The line there has now turned to magenta, and therefore I think it will now fly on the flight plan. So my guess is the SID was perhaps not quite there, wasn't quite compatible, and therefore the aircraft wanted to do the upward northward flight plan. And so by flying away from it and by kind of giving the airplane a bit of a kick to remind it where exactly it is, it should now follow the flight plan again. So yeah, once again it's just down to my own setup incompetencies rather than the aircraft doing it wrong. The Proline Fusion is a fantastic bit of kit, and the Cyber have done a rather good job at bringing it into the system. And again, synthetic vision. Me personally, I love it. It's a nice extra to have, especially if you do lose visibility outside the window, and helps you kind of figure out where you are and what's in front of you. I do know there are a fair few pilots that don't particularly like it, and so sees a distraction. So you've got that in front of you, you're flying it off the computer, and it kind of, well, one, it's a distraction, two, it takes the heart out of flying, so you're now looking at a computer screen rather than outside the window, and therefore you just miss out on the world outside. And even here, we're now flying over some very rural regions that, well, regardless of where in the world you are, it will have less coverage. And I can imagine, again, potential Africa, being maps and the satellites over here may not provide as high quality scenery and high quality images, but you look down below, it is spot on. You can see all the fields, you can see all the trees, you can see where every single marker is, you can see where the road also follows it. In fact, Africa might even be the one of the more exciting places to fly because of, one, how varied the region is, and two, well, it's a whole new world. No flight sim previously has ever really gone this much into Africa in terms of scenery fidelity, and then all of a sudden you have this. It's satellite images, you've got the world mesh that's accurate. It's like flying on a whole new region that we've never seen before. Orbex, I think Orbex, did they ever release the OpenLC Africa? But again, Open LAN class, it's not sat images, it is still LAN class at the end of the day. And so Orbex were close to doing it in X-Plane with the True Earth series, but well, you don't need it anymore. This is 100% coverage. I've been flying the Alpha and Beta for about 2 months now. And even now, it excites me, the simulator. It excites me with how much there is new, it excites me with how much there is to see, how much there is to do. And even despite some of the aircraft flaws and the systems flaws, I love flying every aircraft through and through. I have not yet had a bad experience in Microsoft Flight Simulator, which is rare to say for any flight sim, because in the Norwegian flight we did talk about the pros and the standout things of each flight sim, to which I actually missed out Aerofly VR, so I'll give them the recognition there. Virtual reality in Aerofly is superb. But every flight sim, as well as their highs, also have their flaws, and so stability across most platforms has always been a bit 50-50. Microsoft Flight Sim, again, alpha and beta stages, so you do expect a few bugs, you do expect a few breaks. Maybe it's crashed on me twice, ever. And I've flown this almost every day now, since I first got the access. It's crashed twice, and one of those was down to my own fault, because I had a few issues with my overclocking, therefore I kind of tweaked that to bring it back. And the other one was wholly down to the sim. I believe it was a navigation issue, and therefore I put maybe too much in and the CPU overloaded and it crashed, but again, that is very good for a sim of this spec, of this generation. And going forward, I'm excited to see what more is there to come. And again, who here's attends the funerals of X-Plane and P3D? That was a video that just got uploaded on, I think it was Monday? I don't know, I found it hilarious. I mean, do I plan to uninstall P3D and X-Plane? P3D, because I recently did a complete reinstall of my system, so I've started again from scratch. P3D I have not yet installed. Do I plan to? I don't know. I really don't think so. While it has its upsides as a simulator, for those who are looking for the entertainment licensed flight sims, Microsoft Flight Sim 2020 is a continuation of it. It's like the spiritual successor almost. Everybody used FS 2004, everybody used FSX, then Asus team dropped out the market because Microsoft needed to can a few teams to save money after the terrible release of Windows Vista, which pretty much bankrupted the company, so they've had to cut a lot of resources, and Asus team, the simulator guys, were one of them. So Microsoft left Flight Sim, Lockheed Martin then picks up the license for it, and released P3D, prepared. So everybody then moved from FSX to P3D, because 1, add-on compatibility, and 2, simulator familiarity. Now, we have P3D V1, V2, V3, V4, V5. What's next? Flight Sim 2020 or P3D V6? Because again, P3D isn't sold as the entertainment platform, it is still a training system simulation out there. And so, while they'll certainly have their military contracts and their flight schools and all that, because it has got the full simulator 3-axis support behind it, while Microsoft Flight Simulator doesn't, everything else, from an entertainment point of view, this is it. The scenery is phenomenal. The aircraft fly rather well. Weather simulation and aeroflow dynamics, very, very good. I'm excited. And with one week to go until you guys get your hands on it as well, I'm sure you again will have a blast. Whether you've got it on the Steam store, whether you've got it off of the Microsoft store. It'll take a little while to download. It's 120 gigabytes of installs, so give it a while. But once you're in, once you've set it up, got your controls how you want it, I'm telling you now, this is the future of flight simulation. I'll keep an eye out on them now, because like I say, P3D I've got no intention to use, but X-Plane, there are definitely a few things that perhaps I will go back to. But for how long then is that question? Because I still, I guess, swear by Microsoft Flight Simulator as being the future. And, well, until some of the aircraft do arrive, such as the PMDG 737, for example, well, PMDG arrives means I don't need a need for the Zybo. And that's about it, really. Everything else has been relatively catered for. Although, speaking of the Zybo and the Ultimate Team, they have made announcements that they are going to make a bigger reveal later in the week. I'm not sure what the reveal is, although I am very excited. they've got something up their sleeves. I'm not sure what it is. It could be Microsoft related, it could be X-Plane related, but we'll see. We shall see. Right, Nakat's waypoints just coming up. Make a right hand turn and start our first of a thing. It's like a slight northerly heading, it's not too much. We're about a quarter of the way into the flight now, so it's not a very long one. Airspeed wise, not looking too bad at the moment. I probably could have even leveled the throttle ever so slightly. It's a turboprop aircraft, the King Air, so feathering the throttles isn't so much a requirement as you would in a standard piston aircraft, but it's still nice to bring it back a tiny little bit, just kind of take the strain away from the airplane itself. But as long as the actual throttles themselves are back slightly, that's not much of a problem, or it won't cause a problem at any point during the flight. Seems to have too much action there, the throttle. Perhaps it's at the lower end things start to slow down. As I said during the A320 videos on Sunday, the more you fly the aircraft, the more you kind of get used to the hands-on flying, and so with the King Air, it's a very... compared to the other prop aircraft, the King Air is a very different beast to fly. It's much more powerful, much more range, much more behind it, and so certainly there is a bit more of a learning curve that you do need to kind of just get your way around. There you go, so you have got an estimated time of arrival, which is slow ticking down. And that's our time of arrival to our next waypoint, so 20 seconds to go. Again, it's like small features like that which makes the Proline systems very nicely detailed. 0.9 miles to go, 10 seconds, oop, there we go. Switch over, it's now 11 minutes until we reach our next waypoint of Melmo. And that was Nakat we're leaving. So many cool little features that this aircraft has, and eventually get used to it. I can identify as well, so I should probably identify my squawk there. Squawk 7000. In reality that should be 2000 for uncontrolled airspace. I like it a lot. The King Air, without a doubt, is the best equipped aircraft in the sim. You just gotta know how to use it. The more rural we fly, the less data there is in terms of scenery, so you can see there's now a few small things coming in out of play, like a bit of cloud there. But again, just that little bit of cloud data right there is so minor compared to the rest of the world being satellite imagery that I certainly can live with that. I'm sure most people could do as well. The roads coming in now, snaking through the trees. Any buildings that do exist out here, they are 3D, they just pop out the ground, and just overall, again, it's an astonishing platform we've got on the way. Asobo have done an amazing job at creating this simulator. It's something I'm going to be saying every day now until it does release, because I don't know, I've said it all so many times now why I think the simulator is so great. Most people agree with me. There's a few who very much won't make room for change, but ultimately that's down to personal preference. Now, in terms of upcoming flights, today we're doing Africa. Tomorrow I plan to do Hawaii as a region. Thursday I'm not quite sure what I'll be doing just yet. Friday I'll try and do a 737. So A320 even, sorry, not 737. And then yeah, it really is just okay, seeing what happens next. This weekend also I'll try and get the 747 done. That will be a mission in itself, but I have got a route in mind what I want to do for it. It's now just a case of putting it into action, actually finding time to record it. It's about 2.5 hours the route, but one that is served by the 747 in real life, so certainly one we'll go for. Also, donations, yes, so on Sunday, sorry, because I recorded that on Friday and published it on Sunday, we did the stream for Beirut, raising a bit of money for the people who have been displaced and lost a lot over there, and, well, blew me away. We raised £509.83 during the stream, and then, well, at the time of recording this, that number has now jumped to £606.83, so it's an extra £100 that's gone into that, and yeah, it really will help a lot of people being able to rebuild and go forward. And so, I'm proud of you guys, you've done a fantastic job. Again, going back to what I said earlier, no flight sim has ever done Africa right. Here we go. That there is an example of land class and satellite imagery. So this is satellites, and that square there, because there's missing data or a cloud or something that's gone wrong there, and as a result they stuck a bit of land class on top. And so it fits in, it looks good. You can see where the roads do connect up. There's tents connect up as well. And yeah, you really don't notice that, especially from a distance, it just fits. So I'm sure there may have been a few of those we've flown past today. Ultimately without even realising they were there. Now, I'm not sure if there's rivers or just valleys, whatever that snake through, but they are there. It's all there, guys. Alright, not too far now from the Lake Victoria, and it's over this. We will start our initial bout of descent. We're only about 10,000 off the ground at the moment, so it's not a very high cruise. We'll drop to maybe 7,000 before levelling it off and seeing what needs to be done there. Worst case scenario, we just take it in manually the entire way because we're not particularly high, and the King Air is not a difficult aircraft to fly, that's for sure. Cloud cover up ahead as well, over the lakes, so I can imagine that things will get a little bit less visual over that. And potentially we may even just drop down back to 10,000 as we do start flying over the water, because there's no terrain, nothing for us to really worry about, and therefore we do have the opportunity, if we want to, just to bring the aircraft a little bit lower. So at this zoom level we can now view the rest of our route as well as our landing. Just under 3 minutes till we reach it, 13 miles. Not doing ATC, so we won't tune any frequencies. Look at the map. What else can we do? So we've got the map, we've got the flight plan, procedures, we've got nearest info, so we've got nearest airports if I wanted to, we've got Seneca, Araket, is that Homer or Noma? Homer Bay, Kilgoris, Araket just jumped up there. It tells you where everything is, directions, length of the runway as well, which is a nice little extra as well, gives you an idea of how long the landing paths are. And yeah, it's all there. So again, we'll leave it on map. We'll just close the screen since we got all the information we need over here. Also got the keyboard if we needed it as well, but since it's all touchscreen, I don't think we're going to have much of a use for that. Fuel-wise, we've barely touched our tank. Barely touched either of them. Just those little thin, almost non-existent clouds as well, just the way they kind of coast past the aircraft. It's beautiful. And again, don't forget that this is all out of the box. There's no downloading of orthos, there's no need for terabytes of sceneries. You download each tile one by one. No need for manual overlays as well. This is what you're getting from the box. There's no add-ons being used, no tweaks, no nothing. Because if I did tweak it, then I'd get my beta privileges revoked, because you're not allowed to tweak them at the moment. It's part of the agreements. So, yeah. Really is a beautiful thing, this. Right. On to our next waypoint, Oxen, sorry. 78 miles, 17 minutes. In terms of our routing, we're now over halfway to our destination. And so our next front will be Lake Victoria. It is coming to view now, just behind those clouds behind that hill there. Cloud cover's looking relatively thick at the moment, so I said descend. Perhaps I might even find it worthwhile climbing a little bit, actually. Or I could use synthetic vision, because again, that's what it's here for. So I can see the hill, that's going to be that. Bit of coastline, which is going to be following along that. And then there's a small island, which is going to be somewhere behind the cloud, about there. Yeah, go on, let's climb a little bit. We're at 15 right now. Jump up to 17,000. That's heading, sorry. Yeah, 17,000. 1,000 feet per minute. What's am I heading to? 266. We'll reset to 270. We're not going to use it, but just in case. And so, just a moment, I'm going to fly over the water. At Oxum, we'll make a right hand turn, and at that waypoint, we start our approach into the airport. And there we are, welcome to Lake Victoria, the home of the River Nile. So, the River Nile, in terms of where it begins as a sole river, is from here. However, for those of you who watched original Top Gear, you will know that one of their challenges when they went to Africa was to find the true source of the Nile, which was a couple of hundred kilometres south of here. But, yes, in terms of where the actual Nile River starts, it is off the, just off the coast of this lake here towards the north, where it begins its epic journey across all of northern Africa, before flying through Egypt, and that's into the sea. What countries to go through? So, let's say it goes through northern Africa and exits out of Egypt. Countries on the route, let's have a look, shall we? I head to Kenya. There's Nairobi. Through to Uganda. There's Kampala. Shows the River Nile. It's going to be that one. Yes, okay, so yeah, starts through Uganda, through South Sudan, through Egypt, and then out into the Mediterranean Sea. You never know, when I went to Greece last year, went swimming to the ocean, some of the water ice swelling may have originated from the Nile. And it's been flowing long enough, millions of years to allow for it, so yeah. A lot of cool facts. To be fair, water cycles and flows have been going on for so many years now. Virtually every drop of water has now been everywhere in the world. Cycle it however many times. So I've got a rather pretty coast here. Fly through that. And to the lake. It's a massive, massive lake that. You can't see the other side at all. Goes around the curvature of the earth there. I do know a guy who actually, well, he works for British Airways. Actually lived in Nairobi for a couple of years. Works for British Airways. He's in charge of some of the airports out here in terms of customer service and operations, and so he spent a couple of years at Jomo. He spent a couple of years at other airports as well in the region. But he is now back in the UK and based at Waterside. Great guy. Absolutely love him. Great to talk to. Tolerates anyone and everyone. He'll listen to you, chat to. Great guy. 5 out of 5. So that's one of the nicest people I ever meet. Well, I think I know what today's thumbnail's going to be, that's for sure. So, not too far to go now. We reach the waypoint in approximately 9 minutes. And it's a right hand turn in towards the coast. And it comes down. Runway 35 in terms of the heading is pretty much straight on where we're approaching from. Oh, there's no actual airport map here. That's very rare, I will say. Most airports do give you the full ground map, but Entebbe doesn't seem to do that for us. Which is very strange, because as an airport, it's one of the biggest in the region. Well, I wouldn't say... I don't know if it's biggest in the region, but in terms of traffic, in terms of actual knowledge about it, it's certainly massive. And, well, also the scene of a relatively horrid attack as well. I mean, there's Lufthansa flights that was flying. Man, I haven't seen a movie. There was a movie about it recently. But, what was it? Let's have a look. Lufthansa. Lufthansa flight 181. There was a flight from this page is giving much information. Essentially, so it was a Lufthansa flight that was taken over by a couple of members of the Popular Front for Liberation of Palestine. They hijacked the aircraft over the Mediterranean, sent it down to Entebbe, and kept it on the ground there for a couple of days. I think it was almost a week while it was on the ground, before eventually Commando stormed the aircraft and sent everyone out. The pilot of the airline, I remember, was killed because he tried to kind of... How did it go? Because the pilot was quite an unfortunate one, because he left the aircraft for a short period to do an inspection of the aircraft. He then spoke to one of the ground crew to say that the bad guys hadn't treated them too badly during the hijacking. And then, well, as he boarded the aircraft again, because he had conferred with the ground security forces, he was ultimately shot. So, yeah, it's quite a sad case, that one, as they are with all hijackings, but Entebbe certainly became quite well known as an airport after that case. And also is the name of the movie which surrounds that hijacking. I've not watched it yet, but I have had good reviews from it, and so at some point I probably will check it out. But other than that, yeah, Entebbe Airport is the main airport in Kampala, which is the capital of the Uganda. And in terms of size, it's, well, it has 2 runways. Both of them rather big. We do need to head southward for a little bit before we do come in, because runway 35 is basically northerly heading runway, just off of 36. And then, yeah, coming to land. It's like almost like a triangle shape, the 2 runways. They're perpendicular? It's not parallel, not perpendicular. It's kind of just, they come together at an acute angle. And, yes, there's a few airport services available as well, which we'll be going through. Kampala being a rather nice city as well. Certainly one of the more modern cities out in Central Africa. But do keeps their heritage, so you do get quite a few like older buildings or older huts and whatever that they do have as museums. One day, if I do get a chance to head down and visit Africa, I think I'll do like maybe for a month, and I'll then do cities and countries and hop between the lot. So rather than just one trip, spend a couple of days, go back, turn it into an experience. I'd so like to volunteer out here one day. I'm not sure if I'll do it through an organisation or if I'd try and do it however, but I think volunteering and helping out some like local projects as well, that is an experience I definitely want to go through at some points. I mean, given that I'm not a volunteer, I guess, by career or not working in the army, so I won't have so much like heading out to a village and building a well or such, but certainly something like logistics, helping move supplies from one place to another, or stocking up, handing out food supplies, whatever, something like that, I'd definitely jump on the opportunity to be able to do. Well, not long to go now. Waypoint's in just over 3 minutes, and then it's about time we well, potentially even start our descent even. 17,000. The airport's going to be at around 5,000-6,000 feet, so 10,000 to descend. Well, I can't see it on the horizon in particular because the light bloom kind of just fades away at the horizon there. I can see on the map, or the synthetic vision, there is some landmass now starting to appear. There's also an aircraft on my right hand side as well. Not sure if we're able to spot them, but there is someone out there. Could be a real plane, could be a multiplayer user, who knows these days. Now, like I say, it is possible to turn off the multiplayer if you don't want it. Potentially if it gets an waiver experience. trying to see where the, not sure, is that going to be clouds? Not particularly. But certainly deeper and shallower parts of the water. So you've got the darker patches where it's deeper, the lighter patches where it's shallower, and just creates the channels here in the water. Again, one of those things that former older flight sims never really took into account, but just the world of Microsoft Flight Sim now excels in. There's the right hand turn, so I'll soon be making our descent. The airport should be just that peninsula right there, and therefore it'll be a good time soon to start our descent, start bringing the aircraft in. Should be directly to our right, wherever that plane is, somewhere within this image. But if it's too far away, then also don't expect to be able to spot its lights so easy either. If it was the middle of the night, then absolutely you could be able to spot them, but speaking of night, I haven't actually thought about doing night flight yet, although it's again a request that I've had a couple of people ask me to do, so any nighttime route suggestions, I guess that's something that I could very much be in the offering for. So don't expect to see much outside the window if it'll be dark, but certainly anything that will give you a nice idea of what the sim looks like once the sun has set. This weekend we'll then drag out the A320 again, do a couple of routes. We'll also do the 747. On Monday, I'll then figure out what I'm going to be premiering, because the sim then releases on Tuesday and opens up the possibility of a live stream even. It's been a while since I've last gone live on this channel. Normally I go on Wednesdays, Saturdays and Sundays, but just because I've now been pumping out this Microsoft Flight Simulator content, and because I'm not allowed at this stage to do a live stream, it's just, well, it'll be interesting to see how easy it is to get back into it if I've forgotten my way of actually reading comments and chats and talking to you guys. Although that will certainly be a nice change as well. There's only so much I can do sitting here rambling on for an hour at a time until we start our descent. At least with live streams when I'm cruising, I can actually read the live chats, read what you guys are saying, and actually form a conversation out of it. And that's one of the reasons why I kind of stopped doing normal uploads and started doing live streams instead, because I just like that interaction with you guys. I enjoy sitting here, talking to you, answering questions, showing stuff off, whatnot. That's how I've always done things, and it's how I want to do things going forward. I mean, yes, there's a massive boost in views with Microsoft Flight Simulator, and certainly because I've had access to the beta preview, views that I certainly don't anticipate ever having again in the future. I expect a small drop when it does release, but hopefully most of you guys will stick around and keep carrying on with the channel as time goes on. It won't be daily uploads and daily streams, that's for sure. I'll go back to my normal Wednesdays, Saturdays and Sundays. But yeah, it'd be nice to actually talk to you guys live and actually be able to create a bit of interaction as well. Because that is one thing I certainly have missed. Right, so we need to descend around 10,000 feet. In however many miles. I get the miles to the next waypoints, but not so much in the way of destination, although it should tell me somewhere, shouldn't it? Let's have a look. Flight plan. That was a map, wasn't it? Flight plan. It's a flight plan. Is that accurate? 25? No. But what is accurate is adding them up. So we're heading to Cockpit right now, which is on here. So it's 18 miles between Cockpit and Empis. If I zoom down, 1821 between Empis and Entebbe. So add that together. That is 29 39 miles. So 40 miles, 10,000 feet, just around there. We'll go maybe, what, 1,000 feet per minute initially. So I'm basing this off my rule of thumb, where it's 80 miles for 30,000 feet, 2,000 feet per minute. So shallow descent, close to the airport, at a slightly longer distance. Let's do this, shall we? So we're sending initially to 10,000, so we'll drop the 7,000 feet first. Cut back on the throttle now as well. A few winds are starting to pick up now as well, so the aircraft is slightly drifting off the flight plan, but we'll adjust it when needed. Our first few islands now starting to come into view. The city of Kampala itself, so the airport is going to be around there. City is going to be that patch over there, so certainly a little bit out of the way. Alright, let's increase our descent rates a little bit. Perhaps 1,500 I think is the sweet spot for us today. So I'll continue to do that. And then switch over to manual control in just a couple of minutes. Make a left-hand turn, followed by a right, align the runway, and then bring it into touchdown. that's going to be the airport just coming to view now. Dark grey patch. There, that's the airport. So we've got the wrong runway here, but runway 35, sorry. Is it 35 or 33? I'm not getting myself confused. Active flight plan. Nope. On procedures. Yes, it is runway 35 I'm set to land on, which means there should be one more runway just to the left of that, which has not yet come into view, but should do when we do come in. Like I say, it's strange that there's no... Oh, there we go. There's a ground map. So it does appear. We just have to be close to the airport to see it. So let's start a left-hand turn now. Heading selects on. Drop it to 2,000 feet per minute for a couple of moments, just get the altitude down. As you pass through 10,000, we'll turn the landing lights on. Turn right to 270, so fly directly to the west. Drop altitude now to 5,000. Same as before, 1,000 feet per minute descent. Is it this I keep scrolling? Yeah, looks like it is. Whenever the mouse is right-clicked, it does still affect the switches sometimes, and so, again, it's just one of the things that, once you get used to the camera setup and controls, you do get used to all the smaller quirks that Sim has. But again, for the most part, it doesn't really ruin your gameplay as such. Again, it's just new environment, new simulator, new controls, you need to get used to it. At this point we'll now use the throttle to control our descent. Let's set in the descent rates. We'll drop our first stage of flaps. And then the right hand turn here we shall do manually, so we won't use the autopilot for the heading. Certainly we'll just freehand it in, bring it in for the approach. Cool. Autopilot's off. Right hand's turn. Let's get aligned with this runway, shall we? Yeah, that coastline. Whoa! Bit of turbulence. That coastline again is just beautiful. The simulator is visually amazing. Right, we'll just trim now for descent. 140 knots I'm happy with, so we'll keep us at that. We're a few miles off, but not too far for landing. down. Slow the aircraft down a little bit. Try and aim for around 100 knots for touchdown. Second stage of flaps. A little high on the pappies there, so we'll idle the throttle, bring the aircraft down. As soon as we start matching up the reds and whites, then put a bit of power in, keep the aircraft at a stable descent rate, and then, well, touch it down really. That's all that's left of this flight. There we go, it's 1 reds. It's 2 whites, 2 reds. So keep it stable now. Throttle back. First thrust set. And there we have it. Cut the reverse thrusts and use the momentum we've got to bring it down to the end of the runway, because there's not too many exit points here at Entebbe. So it's now down the entire length of the runway until we can make a right-hand turn. Gates are then going to be over here, so we'll go find ourselves some parking, and then we'll conclude the end of this flight. But like I say, even out in some of the most rural parts of Africa, Microsoft Flight Simulator does still give you the satellite imagery. It does still give you the houses and 3D buildings that pop off the ground and all of that fancy stuff. It's not just limited to Europe and America. Of course, people will be showcasing a lot of those regions when it comes to the simulator release, because that's, I guess, what most people are interested in terms of actually seeing where the houses are or what their local town looks like. But like I say, my aim has always been more to show people what they want to see, and perhaps things that may have been missed out as well. So I did South America, I did that Brazil flight. I've done Africa now. At some point in the very near future I want to cover Southeast Asia. I'm going to do Hawaii, which is another region that a couple of people have missed out on as well in terms of actually showing what it looks like. And yeah, I'm sure there's a couple others as well, which, well, we've got a week to show off, I guess. We did New Zealand. I've had a few requests actually for Africa as well. Not Africa, sorry, Australia. Doing Africa now. I have a few requests for Australia. And perhaps we actually do the, well, do the Gold Coast, not the Gold Bay. I kept calling it the Gold Coast in the New Zealand video and flying from Nelson to Takaka, as I now am told it's pronounced. Not Takaka, Takaka. So again, apologies to the guys over there who I've hopefully not offended by mispronouncing that. But yes, it's the Gold Bay in New Zealand and the Gold Coast in Australia. There, corrections out the way. Right, let's turn off the landing lights, taxi lights on. Let's go find somewhere to park up. A little bit of throttle in. And as I say, I will go back into my streaming settings and all that and see if I can handle the unlimited downloads, because if I can, then, well yeah, visually, it has improved the sim quite a lot. Much more so than I thought it would, but then again, it does make sense when you're streaming in so much high quality data. You do need to give the simulator the bandwidth to actually be able to hold it all. So yeah, we'll park up one of these remote stands over here. Don't think we're going to go for the gate treatments, and I can already see a sign over there. I'm going to have to check, is Entebbe a hand-built airport or is this default? If I'm completely honest, I haven't checked these airports. I know that Jomo Kenyatta Nairobi was an automatically generated airport, but I don't know, something looks a bit fancier with this terminal building, so I'll definitely do a quick check just to see and confirm if that is the case. I'll raise the flaps before I forget. Stop the aircraft here. Parking brake sets. Bring back the prop and bring back the mixture. And that should now cut the engines. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've not yet. Taxi lights come off. Where is it? Where is it? There it is. Nope, that's it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Entebbe. I've just checked, and yes, Entebbe is one of the hand-built airports that I've added to the game. So we'll have a look around, and we'll see what it features. As I said, when I landed here, it certainly looks a bit more fancier than some of the default stuff, but as a result, have a look at that. That is phenomenal. Entebbe International Airport, welcome to the Pearl of Africa. You've then got the sign just there, Entebbe, that's raised off the ground. That is very, very nice. Rivals. You're not our rivals, you're rivals. Browse, SMS, chats. So, the airport's got Wi-Fi. Amazing. There. That's a very nicely detailed airport. If you come over here, we get to see the car park, parked aircrafts. Bit of raised ground as the cars come up to the terminal entrance. And then over there, yeah, that's the main roads, and that leads out to the well, leads around the runway, and then out to the city, out to Kampala. That is very nicely done from Asobo. I'll give them, well, 5 stars out of 5 for that. And then there's our puny little King Air just sitting on the ground waiting for us to end. Yeah, so that was a flight through the African regions. That was Jomo Kenyatta in Nairobi to Entebbe in Kampala. That was the Beechcraft King Air 350, and that was another Drawyah premiere video coming to an end. Once again, I hope you guys are enjoying these previews, because they're a lot of fun to record, and certainly the more I discover of this world, the more that I am just certainly falling in love with the simulator. And I hope that gives you guys a good idea of what is to come in the future as well. I mean, again, the clouds, you can see they're beautifully done, the trees, the hills on the horizon, it's just so well done, so beautiful. And again, the whole world's included. You can fly anywhere, see anywhere, do anywhere. It's phenomenal. Anyways, I won't keep you waiting much longer. I'll bring this one to an end, so thank you all very much for watching. You take care of yourselves, and I shall see you again in the very near future. Take care, and goodbye.